procedure, Rule 128, accompanied by a certificate of financial implication, I move that the bill, the Museums and Monuments Bill 2022, be read the first time.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. According to Rule 129, Sub-Rule 2, I refer this bill to the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry. Thank you.
The Museums and Monuments Bill 2022. Item number 4 on the order paper, motion for the adoption of the report of the Committee on Information Communications Technology and National Guidance on the petition of unsatisfactory and unfair service delivery by various telecommunication service providers in Uganda.
Honorable Chairman Moses Magogo, Engineer. Honorable, you have 20 minutes to do justice to the report.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I'm here to present a report of the Committee on ICT and National Guidance on the petition of unsatisfactory and unfair service delivery by the various telecom service providers in Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I would like first of all to call for your patience to listen through the report. It's a bit lengthy, but I'll try to be as fast as I can be because this matter was raised in accordance with Rule 30 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament on November 9, 2021 referred a petition on the unsatisfactory and unfair service delivery by the various telecom service providers in Uganda to the Committee on ICT and National Guidance for consideration, and reports its findings to the House. The background is that on the 3rd of November 2021, constituents from Kawempe South petitioned the Parliament on the above subject matter, and the petition was received by the Office of the Clerk to Parliament. This report has been uploaded to the system, and I'll try to summarize it in the interest of time by referring to the pages they are at. And this is page 3 that I'm going through. Relatedly, at the 10th sitting of the first session of the 11th Parliament held on the 9th November, Honorable Kaziwe Bashir Mbazira, Member of Parliament, Kawempe South, presented the petition in the House. A number of allegations against the telecom and television providers, including MTN, Airtel, Like Mobile, Smile, Rock, Huawei, and StarTimes were raised, and the following key issues were highlighted in that petition. The first one, poor quality of service, dropped calls, bidding practices for voice calls, charged for full minute even when it's not consumed due to dropped calls. The exorbitant rates on data bundles and realistic consumption patterns, expiry of internet bundles. Challenges with the mobile money transactions, and the other one was disconnection of free-to-air television channels on pay platforms upon expiry of subscription periods. Now, Parliament investigates, and this is what the petition has prayed for, that Parliament investigates the quality of the services provided by the providers, and that's the telecom and television companies in Uganda, to enable local content creators, subscribers, and consumers realize value for money. The objective of the consideration of the petition, with UCC as the main respondent, was to ensure that the communication service consumers in Uganda receive quality, reliable, and fairly priced services in a well-regulated environment. Further disengagements with various stakeholders was to ensure that the recommendations made will promote the use of communication services, facilitating the attainment of an inclusive digital economy, and to promote the digital transformation program of increased ICT penetration and use of ICT services for social and economic development. We held meetings with various people, including the Minister, the Petitioner Member of Parliament, UCC, various telecom and hardware installation companies, the providers, television and media houses, and the Executive Committee of the National Association of Broadcasters. We reviewed legal and policy documents and frameworks. We undertook field visits to the following entities: DSTV and GoTV, UBC, National Operating Center for Signet at Korolo, MTN Uganda, and Airtel Uganda. Now, these are observations and recommendations as the Committee of ICT of Parliament. The committee observed that in ensuring that the consumers of communication services in Uganda receive quality, reliable and fairly priced communication services, UCC has undertaken initiatives through the National Broadband Policy 2018 directed towards general improvement of the quality of services provided by the operators, but amongst others including reviewing of licensing framework of the telecommunication sector in Uganda, increasing availability of communication network infrastructure, pricing regulation, enforcement of infrastructure sharing, improvement of consumer protection services by UCC. Now, regarding the issues raised in the petition, the committee reports as follows. On the matter of poor quality of service and dropped calls, billing practices for voice calls, internal and external factors may be cited as a challenge leading to deteriorated quality of service of calls, sometimes manifesting as dropped calls, and these include caller movements from overserved to underserved areas. The drop in calls were attributed subscriber motion to an area with inadequate or no coverage due to obstacles in the signal path, temporary network outage or its absence, interference from other radio transmitters, usually illegally installed network boosters, and congestion due to insufficiency of network resources against the traffic being handled. The other area also that causes poor quality of service and dropped calls was the unfavorable socio-economic factors, like the poor quality of service in the country that has been attributed to vandalism and theft of communication infrastructure equipment, unreliable power supply, especially in rural areas where umeme supply is intermittent, inadequate level of investment in network sited, and equipment for coverage of network capacity. The other is related, or the second one, to adequately serve Kampala. It requires 400 additional towers, yet no building permit has been issued for all of the sites applied for the financial year 2021. It should further be appreciated that the average number of sites that obtained permits within the 30-day window has been declining across the building projects for the financial year 2018. UCC has, however, instituted a number of measures to ensure that operators improve their quality of communication services, leading to significant improvement in quality of communication, with operators responding by investing in construction of more towers, fiber cables, and other forms of technology. The committee recommends that government should designate telecommunication infrastructure as critical national infrastructure as envisaged by the National Broadcast Policy 2018. Government should create a one-stop licensing and permitting center for telecommunication infrastructure. But at the moment, there are different permits that are required to be able to install these towers. The CAA or the Civil Aviation Authority, the KCCA, all these are different authorities, and the recommendation of the committee is you should have a one-stop licensing and permitting center. Government should develop a standardized and streamlined regulatory framework for permitting of new telecommunication infrastructure. The prosecution of criminals involved in the theft and vandalism of telecom equipment be enhanced. But we are aware that UCC has set up a specialized investigation and prosecution unit of 6 lawyers licensed by the DPP to prosecute communication-related offenses. Such vandalism of equipment, the committee recommends for boosting of this department. Further investment in the telecommunication equipment should be undertaken to enhance the quality of service assessment of operators to ensure that the measured performance aligns with the subscriber experiences. There should be enhanced working relationship between UCC and the operators to address specific network challenges such as enforcement against illegal radio boosters found to be causing interference. The operators should enhance their network coverage by installing booster towers and sites on buildings and higher altitude installation in order to reduce the black spots. The operator should further enhance their network coverage. UCC should engage the government through the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development on the reduction of the levy on the imported steel in alignment with the East African tax regime, because presently the Uganda tax on steel is at 25%, and yet entirely for the East African community is 10%. The second issue was exorbitant rates on data bundles, unrealistic consumption patterns, and expiry of internet bundles. And these are the observations of the committee. Generally, data prices in Uganda have reduced significantly over the years to being lower than the number of other countries as per the reports done by cables.co.uk and Alliance for Affordable Internet. The cost is, however, not yet affordable for every Ugandan, and there is a table trying to explain where we came from and where we are at the moment. And in this table, the cost was 632 USD in 2011. And today, it has gone down. Of course, the one in black below, this is not a colored table, is what NITA-U is providing versus the market rates. And currently, in 2018, NITA-U goes for the 70 USD compared to 237 that the market is providing. But this is in comparison to 632 in 2011. According to reports established by Statista in November 2021, the average cost of 1 GB of data is about 5,000 Uganda shillings, which is comparable to other countries as reported by the Alliance for Affordable Internet in other global indices. To be more specific, to bring out the issue, that in 2008, 2,000 Uganda shillings would buy 1 liter of fuel. I must put a disclaimer that this report was done before we had the challenges we have with the fuel prices. However, I will go ahead to make my point that in 2008, 2,000 shillings would buy about 1 liter of fuel. would buy about 5 minutes of voice, would buy about 10 MBs of data. But in 2018, it would buy about 0.6 of a liter, 40 minutes of voice, and 125 MBs of data. Today, and I said I qualified this, would buy 0.4 liters of fuel, 60 minutes of voice, and 400 MBs. Basically, what the table is trying to do is that fuel is a factor in the cost of voice and data, because these towers are powered by generators that consume. But whereas fuel costs are going in a different direction, you can see that the cost of these services were also going in another direction. Data prices over time have been observed to be influenced by many variables, including the level of taxation, cost of inputs, and of operation, national and international transit leasing costs to connect to the international Tier 1 internet providers, and the size of the market. Now, the size of subscription has been linked to the network coverage, ownership of devices, digital skills, affordability, and relevance of the internet or its related services and applications, and the cost of differential between the basic phones and low-cost internet-enabled devices. We also observed that UCC has over the years tried to intervene in the pricing derivation models by the telecom operators, but the law gives operators the right to use the cost-oriented price determination model in keeping with the global industry practice. Subscribers to internet services lose data because of ignorance of the application that cause data loss, including data sharing options, continuous device connection to the internet in the background, built-in and automatic phone application installations, uploads and updates where the phone is connected to the internet. The data is therefore reduced without the direct engagement by the user. Now, this requires sensitization of the masses on data usage. The committee commends the initiative by UCC of introducing an easy-to-use self-check tool for consumers called NetQ. This is projected to improve transparency around data speeds and the means of ensuring customer satisfaction on mobile internet performance. Using this tool, consumers can get an objective, unbiased, and open view of the network performance in Uganda. I encourage members of this House to install this application because it will tell a lot about your data usage, the speeds, in a transparent manner. UCC has also partnered with third-party price comparison websites like Compare Uganda, who provides consumers with independent, objective comparison of products and services offered by different service providers. And this is aimed at improving availability of information to consumers to choose between providers and the packages on the basis of value for money. Now, the committee recommends that UCC enhances engagements with government to reconsider some of the taxes associated with the data services. That UCC should coordinate efforts of co-funding mechanisms between UMEME and tower companies in identified areas upon which other smaller domestic users and SMEs can build. The tower companies should be categorized as large energy consumers by virtue of their consolidated level of usage of its countrywide installation. Now, benefiting from large consumer tariff rates as an anchor. Right, when I speak on members, I need to explain this a little bit, that these tower companies are charged the power because of the single connections they have at different sites. But overall, they don't have one bill, yet they are scattered all over the country. So their tariff charges are charged as single installations, and yet the consumption would have been taken for the largest energy consumer, and this definitely would impact on the cost of voice and data. UCC should support and reinforce the call telecommunication operators to UMEME to extend grid electricity to tower sites or base stations. This will reduce the cost of purchase of diesel for the sites and contracts for transportation of fuel to the sites for the generators. And of course, this would reduce the cost of operation and therefore the cost of the services. A national policy on unified planning of data transmission and telecommunication infrastructure sharing by NITAU and all licenses for voice data and video signals should be urgently enacted. This should reduce duplication in infrastructure deployment. As we speak today, different providers will have different routes transferring data in form of voice or data as we call it, or video from one destination to another. And if this would be combined, definitely there will be a reduction in the cost of operation.
Honorable Member, you have used 20 minutes. I've been watching. So I'm giving you 5 more minutes. Because the report has been with us. Okay? So I would request you conclude so that we do other items on the order paper. We usually do 15 minutes. And whoever says it's useful, you have it on record. You see, we have a habit of not reading, and we want to read from here. When a member is submitting, it's when we are reading. And you want to debate. So, Honourable Member, I add you time, try to summarize, because you did your part, you submitted early.
Thank you for the guidance, Right Honourable, and I will try to summarize by going for only recommendations, and I hope they will make sense if people have internalized the observations. I will move to page 14, and that's the recommendations in as far as expiry of bundles and billing consumption of bundles. The committee recommends that UCC enhances sensitization of the public on the various data facilities available for use, while encouraging the more friendly bundle subscriptions. UCC should enhance engagements with the telecom operators to develop and provide a broad range of facilities that will encourage customers to access internet. The next recommendations will be about the challenges encountered in the mobile money transactions. And on page 15, the committee recommends that the Bank of Uganda and UCC, the regulator, should carry out a comprehensive fraud awareness and prevention programs in the form of trainings, media campaigns, and safeguards to prevent the compromising of personal identification numbers to sensitize consumers, staff, and agents. The committee also recommends product risk assessment should be incorporated into every mobile money service management program. The committee recommends Bank of Uganda and UCC should strengthen compliance, monitoring, management programs in order to ensure top to bottom compliance with the established procedures to reduce internal and external fraud risk. The committee further recommends UCC liaising with the law enforcement agencies in investigation and prosecution of fraud. On the area of regulation of mobile money, the committee recommends that government enforces the National Payments Act 2020 as enacted. More sensitization is made to the public about the procedures for the beneficiaries to access the money on mobile money account of the deceased subscribers. In the area of income streams, the committee recommends that the central bank comes up with a policy that will provide for uniformity while determining the rates that the communication companies charge the customers while providing the different services. Consumer protection, the committee recommends that mobile money providers establish a system that issues automatic receipts to customers in real time to improve on the security of mobile money transactions, since the receipts can capture actual details of each transaction. UCC and mobile money providers undertake massive awareness campaigns of the rights and obligations of the subscribers. Right Honourable, there was also an issue on the disconnection of free-to-air television channels on pay platforms upon expiry. There was an analysis done. We looked at the different licenses that UCC issues. We made observations, and the committee recommends that UCC enhances engagement of the relevant stakeholders to reconsider the taxes imposed on the communication services and communications assets, which tax reduction eventually trickles to the final consumer of the telecom and television services. That UCC should continuously run advertisements on television and other forms of media to remind the customers on the available choices for customers to voluntarily exercise their freedom. Regulations are enacted to require single-stream pay TV broadcasters and multiple pay TV provider licenses to pay and also broadcast a minimum amount of local content of at least 50%. Because at the moment, the aggregators have no law that requires them to provide minimum local content. So you're going to be watching a lot of foreign content provided by the aggregators. The law only provides a percentage of local content to the channels, but not to the aggregators. The committee recommends that at least 50%. The committee further recommends that a policy should be enacted such that local content by pay TV is categorized across different genres. License carriage fees are reduced and harmonized, and that UCC license fees should be charged in Uganda shillings, not in United States dollars. But there were also incidental observations and recommendations, right honorable members, in the process of this investigation. The levy on the gross annual revenues of licensed operators comes from Section 68 of the Uganda Communications Act 2013, but the target was about the telecom providers in the areas where the telecom services do not reach. But the way it was worded, it includes broadcasters, and the committee recommends that charging 2% of gross revenues on radio and television broadcasters be removed. The levy is collected by UCC in this regard, because it is not even being collected at the moment as we speak. It's just not enforceable. We also observed that there was no communications tribunal, and the committee recommends that the Minister of ICT and National Guidance, UCC First Parliamentary Council, comes up with the constituting of the Communications Tribunal. The approval of the Communications Tribunal should also be fast-tracked at Cabinet. And the government allocates 5.4 billion for the installation of the Communications Tribunal. We also observed that the deployment of the direct-to-home one-beam free-to-air satellite television solution be provided. The observations made why people are not able to watch TV, and I want to go straight to the recommendations, that the committee recommends that CGNet is legally disengaged from UBC by creating its own company fully owned by government with its own mandate, deliverables, board, and secretariat different from UBC. That government invests in the expansion of the CGNet network by allocating 2.5 billion to rehabilitate Kololo and 7.5 billion for us to be able to provide the satellite feed in every inch of this country. I want to report to the House, Right Honourable Speaker and members, that in the budget of 2022-2023, these funds have been provided. The committee also recommends that the monthly carriage fees be reduced from the 12 million to 5 million because they are exorbitant. Government provides incentives and reductions in taxes on the DH decoders and dishes to ensure that these are affordable. Maybe let me explain this a little bit. The objective of this is to make sure that every Ugandan is able to watch the free-to-air channels without paying. At the moment, we have to pay to watch the various channels that are supposed to be licensed as free-to-air because we do not have a platform. But when you do the direct-to-home, it will mean that you buy the decoder and dish once, and then you don't have to pay monthly fees. And the committee was recommending that the taxes on these for a period be reduced such that every homestead can afford to acquire. All they need is a TV, a decoder, and a dish, and watch TV forever. Spectrum allocation telecom companies is also an analysis we did. It also causes some of the challenges. Now, spectrum is a God-created given amount. You cannot extend it. 300 megawatts is what is available for telecom players. This cannot be extended. Now, it has been shared according to the table on page 27, and you realize that Airtel at 70, MTN at 60, and the rest, including unallocated. For me to make the point for the members, this bandwidth is like a road. The bigger the road, the fewer the cars, the faster the traffic. Now, what happens is that when a telecom has less bandwidth with more subscribers, we shall suffer the challenges that were raised by the petitioners. The committee recommends that for parity and fairness, telecom players categorized as level 1 be allocated an equal amount of spectrum of 80 megahertz because there is some which is not being allocated according to the table, And also, there is some that have been allocated to companies that are listed here and they have since closed the business. So this resource should be allocated to the telecoms to ensure that they provide better services to Ugandans. I will skip 4.65, the multiple authorities for installation of communication sites, because I talked about it. But the committee recommends that a joint agency unit is created. The need for a national telecom player. The committee observed that there are currently two major players in the telecommunication industry after the closure of Africell. This does not cause enough competition in the market that would in the end ensure quality service production and competitive pricing of services. There is uncoordinated and parallel nationwide data, voice and video signal distribution, where each telecom, the pay TV and data carriers have constructed parallel backbone infrastructure. So the committee recommends that a national telecom is revamped. You remember we had the UTL, which has since gone to sleep. So the national telecom should be revamped or created in the business of data, video and voice at both business to business and business to consumer or retail level. The national telecom created and revamped should be the monopoly national telecom distance signal carrier, as this will definitely reduce on the cost of usage of the subscribers. There was also an observation of unfair management of pay TV subscribers' assets. The committee observed that the pay TV companies are monopoly vendors of dishes and decoders to their respective platforms, and these organizations go ahead to discontinue the use of services without due consideration. I would like also to mention that the committee recommends that a policy is created to regulate devices required and used for television. A bidding policy is issued to regulate the payment structure in order to ensure that the pay TV subscribers only pay for the time and the content they are viewing. At the moment, even when your decoder is switched off, you pay. Even when you don't want to watch, you'll still pay, because the subscription is monthly instead of paying as you go. Management of electronic devices. Right Honorable Speaker, there was an observation that many electronic devices are imported to the country, and the two following issues are not adequately addressed. The standard and quality of devices imported is not ascertained at the point of importation at UNBS and does not have technical capacity to enforce. Electronic devices contain beryllium, cadmium, mercury and lead. And at the end of life of these electronic devices, they are dumped in the environment, which contaminates our soils, air, water and wildlife. There is no e-waste management procedures being enforced, and neither do the telecom or television players contribute to the alleviation of the situation. The committee recommends that resources are availed to build capacity for NBS to manage the counterfeit electronic devices. A policy is created and enforced to regulate the e-waste management, and then telecom mobile money business are subjected to a tax of 2% of the gross to contribute to the e-waste. All right, Honorable, allow me also to just shed a little bit on this recommendation, that initially all of the gross income of the telecoms was subject to the 2% on the gross, and this money would be collected by UCC. But with the enactment of the National Payment Act, the licensor of the mobile money business is no longer UCC. That goes to Bank of Uganda. And there is no law providing that the gross they were getting out of mobile money revenues is subject to this tax. And therefore there is loss of revenue just that can be enforced, and if we can collect it and use it on the e-waste, because people are using mobile money using these devices, and a challenge. Right, Honorable Speaker and members, allow me conclude. The Committee on ICT and National Guidance notes that Uganda is on the right path to achieving its goal under the Digital Transformation Program of increasing ICT penetration and use of ICT services for social and economic development through increased ICT penetration, reduced cost of ICT devices and services, and creation of more direct jobs in the ICT arena. However, there are still gaps in ensuring and promoting consumer protection and satisfaction through IT service delivery. This is partly due to technological advancements, failure to enforce existing laws, and institutional weaknesses. It's the committee's view that recommendations contained in this report will go a long way in addressing some of the pertinent concerns of the people of Uganda. I therefore pray that the report of the Committee on ICT and National Guidance on the petition on unsatisfactory and unfair service delivery by the telecommunication and television operators be considered by this House and recommendations therein be adopted. I beg to report.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Colleagues, just a minute. I've not yet opened up for debate. Yes, I would first open up for debate. I might close and I say debate tomorrow. So I don't know why we are rushing. But Honorable, thank you. You've done justice to this petition. I think this is well detailed. If you're a member and you want to be talking about issues of technology and telecommunication, you need to interest yourself in this report deeply. I remember when I came here as a new member of parliament, I knew I wouldn't be a jack of all trades. I chose one area which I concentrated on, and that was energy, the energy sector. And I ensured that indeed whenever there is a chance, I contribute, other than trying to touch here and there. So I guide especially the new colleagues. You can look at some areas and you'll be an expert. We always refer to you on such a matters. It becomes easy for you sometimes to admit in this House. So, Honorable, there is an issue which I expected your committee to look at, the issue of interconnection fees. Now, you move to very many countries and people laugh at us. They say, but Honorable, why do you carry 4 phones? Why do you carry 2 phones? Among the Bazungu, they carry 1 phone. And that number can even work on all numbers. What is important is the reference number embedded to know that this is for MTN, this is for Airtel. But they don't have interconnection fees. Because why are you having fees of connecting from MTN to Airtel when you're all licensed by? Number one, it creates monopoly. Number two, that's why all these are creating bundles so that you, instead of using your money on MTN to call Airtel, you'd rather use a bundle. You know, so I'm forced to carry 2 phones. I have an Airtel line for calling Airtel people. I have an MTN line for. There is someone who even calls you, do you have MTN? And he cuts you off. What do you have Airtel? I've seen such situations. So I think one of the recommendations should be removal of interconnection fees. And this can be a clear directive from UCC. I think on mobile money, they have removed or they have tremendously reduced. Now it's very easy. Last time it was so punitive and prohibitive to send money across both platforms. Then the other issue, Honorable, I expected you to touch is an expire of data and voice bundles. How do you tell me that bundles have expired? How? Eh? You say they have expired. Expired and gone where? Technology has no expiry rate. It has no expiry period. I think I have seen in many countries what they do is to require you to reactivate. It's like money on your account, they say your account has expired. No, the bank tells you it has become dormant. So when you go and you fill a form, then they reactivate your account and the money you had, you'll find it there. Now, if I bought my MBs using my money and I've not used it, how do you say they expired? Huh? So, something expired is something dangerous. So, is it dangerous to a community, my MBs? So, Chair, you need to interest yourself. It's one of the issues which I looked at in the report. I believe we need to also tackle. With that, colleagues, I open the debate for 25 minutes. Thank you. Yes. And I will start with Rukunjiri. Colleagues, I'll just pick from this side, then I pick this side. But I can try Bara. Rukunjiri, I pick Seva Mara, I pick business class. Yes, that section I call it business class. So you people, if you're in economy, you resort yourself. I pick here, I pick here Kashari, I pick Najuma. Yes, I pick Narure, Flavia, then I'll pick more colleagues. The people in first class don't panic. You can see, and see General Rory is in charge. No panicking in first class.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
2 minutes each.
For the opportunity, and I want to thank the chair of the committee.
You know what you told me?
I want to thank the chair of the committee for the report. My issue is about the telecommunication companies giving us, not giving us the right information at the right time. Right now, we are trying to move away from carrying cash, and we've been helped by mobile money. I understand now mobile money has helped us to transfer money from rural area, many places, but these days they disconnect mobile money lines from sending a certain amount of money. For example, on my phone, I cannot send more than 40,000 shillings from one phone to the other, and if I have to ask them, I have to go to the center, service center. I can imagine if I'm in my village deep down there in Nyarwimuka, how I have to go to the town to ask them why I cannot transact more than 40,000 shillings on my phone. So I feel it is so inconveniencing, yet they keep sending irrelevant SMSs and messages to the phone. If only they could disconnect your phone and tell you why they have disconnected you, it would be better. So in the recommendations, I could urge you to please inform them to always give us the right information at the right time. I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Samara, 2 minutes each, so that I can pick more members.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank the chairman for the reports. Mine are just two. One, TV companies like DSTV keep repeating the same content. We go back home, we are looking, we find our kids actually cramming everything that is on TV. You're with them and they know the next cartoon, they know the next everything. So there is this duplication and repetitive content with the TVs, and this has to stop. If we are paying almost $70 for a station monthly, they should be able to give us new content. The other is a very sensitive issue that I want the committee to take concern into. There's a lot of money that goes to mobile money companies and it is suspended. People send money from the UK, from the US to your mobile money, and somehow it bounces. Or you send money to someone and then you lose it along the way. Maybe you've skipped a number or something, and then it is not reverted back to you. I understand this money is now going to almost 2 trillion on a suspense account in BOU or something. So there is need for this committee to come back, for your committee to come in, to take keen interest into this money. Actually, by now it might be going to around 4 trillion, where that has bounced. People that have sent money and have not been able to get it back. In the villages, some don't know how to claim it back, and these telecom companies remain with that money. And somehow they have not, and the committee has not taken keen interest in it. We want to know where this money is and how they intend to put it back into.
Okay. My colleague, my very good friend UPC, sometimes colleagues I forget your names, you'll forgive me. Yes, Emma.
Thank you.
Is my chaplain who is praised for me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is about the television. And for us in West Nile, when we talk about it, we are reminded about the Earth satellite station in Ombachi. And we believe if that Earth satellite station is rehabilitated, probably the coverage in West Nile and other parts of Uganda would improve. So we also want to hear that that is in our program for rehabilitation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Clerk, capture further recommendations that do come. I think it will be important for me to read the other recommendations to the House, and they are known exactly which additional recommendations have we made, so that they easily become part of the report, other than being general in nature. I had chosen who next? Yes, I had chosen Kashari. Then I had added on Najma. I have my lady. That is Joyce. Yes. She will be next. And then I pick our senior who has been in the media industry for long, Honorable Semuju. Then, Narude. Then, Honorable, I'll give you a chance. Honorable. Let's do quick. Kashari?
Yes, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, Bataringa Abaze is my name, MP Kashari North. I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate you, because I have never, upon attaining that seat. Secondly, so I rise to contribute to this motion. One, today you launched a report for the youth, and the youth are the majority users of bundles, especially for their school education. Sometimes these young girls and boys lose their phones when they have just loaded bundles. And when it takes a month to replace this phone because of the high costs, eventually when they replace them, the bundles are gone. So I'm so happy that this has been brought here, and I really urge you for the youth that they are assisted by this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I have two issues.
Anywa, I'm going to pick.
I thank the chairperson, the committee members on ICT for this good report. Honorable Speaker, I want to add on their recommendation. We have a problem that when you lose a line, you are supposed to replace it with a national ID. If you don't have a national ID, you cannot replace a line. So people end up losing their lines with money on. People end up registering lines in people's names because of that challenge. So I request the committee to take the committee to take up that recommendation. Then, lastly, Honorable Speaker, the issue of infrastructure development should be taken seriously. I have a whole constituency in Nakaseke North and part of Nakaseke Central, where people climb trees and anthills to communicate. If such a person misses you, you cannot trace back that person. So the issue of poor network, the issue of no network at all should be taken seriously, Honorable Speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Committee of ICT for the report well presented. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee talked about the fraud in SIM card swap. There are instances whereby a person has not taken the SIM card for swapping. But you will find that your number, when a person calls your number, it's a different person answering. And you'd wonder that messages are being sent on the same number that you are not the one who have sent it. I don't know how those come about, and the committee has not tackled that. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Colleague, that's a common fraud going on. It's a very serious point. Yes, and Honorable Nsereko is also going to talk about the same, but I know someone very close to me. Someone called and said, your number has a problem, it's being blocked, so you have to send this money on this. And the person thought it was a joke, and the number was blocked. Said, call it. Called her own number, it was off, your number is disconnected. Right? I don't know how they do it. Chairman, I think on the issue of fraud, you really need to engage UCC, despite security doing all they can and insisting all numbers should be registered. Criminals are still using phones and they can't be traced. We really need to go deep in that. Honorable Semuju? Honorable Sebamara, you've presented.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the committee for this good report. Mr. Speaker, internet is no longer a luxury. I traveled during COVID. In some countries, they will announce an application and everybody is supposed to have a phone. You go to a supermarket, they are supposed to present your status. I want to ask the committee, Right Honorable Speaker, if they interested themselves in the internet use per capita in Uganda. Two, Mr. Speaker, agro-processing, ICT, tourism have been identified by the government as key priorities. But the ICT sector has been abandoned to private players, and the report notes that. That's how we were able to nearly sell all the equipment that UTL had to private players, and now we are crying. Can I ask the chair, because of his vast knowledge of this sector, whether there is any movement towards either recovering, rebuilding of the national public player, as your report says? And finally, Mr. Speaker, of course, when you open an
conclude.
Thank you very much. If you open and liberalize, there are challenges that will come with everybody participating. Whether the attitude of government, from your knowledge as a chair of the committee, has changed towards the various platforms that are offered by the providers, because Facebook at one time was closed. I don't know if they have opened. And the restrictions that you see a government wanting to grow the sector and a government wanting to control the sector. If the chair can help me, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you. Kasanda.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And I really want to appreciate the committee through the chair for the report that you have presented. Honorable Speaker, I have just one issue, key issue that I have noted that is missing in our report, and that's the issue of the gender digital divide currently in our context in Uganda. Honorable Speaker, we have an issue of very few women accessing the internet or even able to access technological services, which remains a big impact, which has a big impact on women's human rights. And now and most of these lock them out in accessibility to opportunities and to skills and building their careers and also promoting their services. There still exists that digital gender gap. It is my recommendation that the report includes 3 key key areas which can help bridge this gender digital divide. The very first one is, one, to address the safety and security of women online. I think we need to have pertinent laws that directly target that, so that we can have gender laws addressing women's safety and security online and in the technology world. Secondly, my recommendation is to look at developing the capacities and skills of women in technology and the media. And finally, we lack gender disaggregated data, especially online. I think we need this data to enable us improve how we can move forward this sector, which is encompassing the women and girls, thereby leaving no one behind, as our SDGs say. Thank you very much.
Boret Namuga.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank my chair for ably representing us. I'm a member of the committee, and I will speak in the capacity. I'm a shadow minister, my friend. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm speaking as a shadow minister. I'm a shadow minister, and I'm giving my position as a shadow minister.
Members,
right.
Hello, colleagues. This is a report where we are not going to have resolutions. Okay? This is not a report where we are going to have, say we are voting on ABCD. We are going to adopt it. So, a shadow minister, I would request I pick you at the end, because you need to hear the views of other colleagues.
Thank you, for Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, for respecting the shadow minister.
Honorable Nsereko.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and the shadow minister.
Then I come here. No, I'm going to come back this
Right
side.
Honorable Minister, Right Honorable Speaker,
yeah.
I seek a few minutes to highlight 1 or 2, 3 things with the request of the House. I would like to thank the Chairman for his comprehensive report. I'm glad honorable members have picked up interest in ICT of late, and this is the key driver of our nation. But now this is being done at the tail end. The budget we allocated to the Ministry of ICT is laughable. But notwithstanding, I'm glad that we all participated in the process and we can correct it now. Honorable members, the Honorable Chairperson talked about the fraud in the mobile money sector. It's the lack of strengthening the cybersecurity space in our country. I heard the Honorable Member talking about the cloning of SIM cards. That is technically from these devices. When you talk about cybersecurity, you start with the device. For example, you all have these devices. When you go to Geno, then you go to display, you'll find where they have the IMEI, the International Mobile Equipment Identifier Number for every equipment. If someone gets to your IMEI and they get to your ICCID, which is the integrated circuit card number, then they'll clone your SIM card without having a SIM card. And they can therefore become what we call the man in the middle. They intercept all your communications, and you must make sure you secure this part of your gadget. Right Honorable Speaker, if you give us time to go into lectures of cyber.
Just conclude, Honorable. No, I can't give you 2 minutes. 1 more minute to conclude.
Okay. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to seek your intervention in the future. I requested to give me time to present an ostensive motion on technology so that maybe it might benefit the House and the country. Right Honorable Speaker, the second thing that was talked about was the bandwidth is present, that we have 300 megahertz. Okay, yes, this is true. But look at the GBs we are using. Some are still on 3G, others the 4th generation. So there is a disparity in communication through the towers and connectivity. The earlier we embrace the 5th generation of internet, because it's faster, moves more bandwidth, and in real time. With what we are using in technology, which includes the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, And Honorable Anywa is talking about something, about Parliament. The more we move faster to embrace the Web 3, the better for us. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like to applaud the committee on the issue of equity in sharing the bandwidth that we have, but also talk about the digitization. Even if we do whatever we want, when people do not know how to use this phone, they are not digitized. Internet prices will not go low because the connectivity to internet per capita that Honorable Semiju has been talking about is useless. Your dad can have this smartphone in the village, but they don't know how to connect. They don't know how to use it. Then there will be no demand for the internet and the prices will remain high because there will be less users on expensive infrastructure. Therefore, the cost will remain high and even move higher.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also buy the recommendation that was done by the chairperson that a national telecom is revamped, because if it is created, indeed it will reduce on cost of usage of subscribers. Honorable Speaker, when you Google about UTL, you get information saying that a network company in Uganda owned by the government of Uganda and currently under receivership due to large debts of about 700 billion and mismanagement. Honorable Speaker, recently the government is getting shares from Rock Company of 202.13 billion. Why don't we revert that money and we resurrect our national telecom? Honorable Speaker, lastly, among the observations of the report, there was enforcement of infrastructure sharing amongst telecom operators. I'm wondering how this is being implemented by UCC, because in Akaseke Central there is a place called Bukema. Airtel has just installed.
Thank you.
Just installed a mast, but all MTN network is disconnected completely. So we are wondering how UCC is enforcing this infrastructure sharing. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Government take note of that, Honorable Gilbert Oranya Katabazi, and then Ogwari Porekap, I look for you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to appreciate the chair for the committee for the good work done. Honorable Speaker, the minister need to caution the telecommunication companies about the security. Honorable Speaker, as I speak now, many people are losing money, especially on mobile money. There are so many companies and their thieves who have mastered how to steal mobile money, especially on those ones who are running mobile money businesses. Honorable Speaker, I have one man who lost over 10 million from these thieves. They know how to master other codes, and they direct you. The moment you press that particular code, the money is gone. Therefore, we need to be cautious on the security. Second, Honorable Speaker, I am happy on the committee about the free-to-air decoders. Honorable Speaker, since Parliament gave money about 5-6 years ago for the provision of free-to-air decoders, it was only within Kampala areas. Honorable Speaker, let free-to-air decoders be extended up-country. In reality, those ones in Kampala are people who at least they have resources. They could pay for decoders. And you are leaving someone coming from northern Uganda, eastern Uganda, and far west to pay for decoders. So I am happy let the money be provided and free-to-air decoders be provided across the country. And finally, some also come from the border post, right?
Honorable, I want to speak a few colleagues to really submit. Let's do quick.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I am Dennis Sekavida at Commonwealth Constituency.
Yes,
I want to thank the Chair and committee members for the report. I have a few concerns. One is about the network coverage at border points. For example, at Katuna and Maraba, where you cannot access your phone or internet unless you have roamed your phone or your network. And I would think it is a very big challenge that we have to address. Two, as Parliament, we allocated over 10 billion shillings to Signet. And I would wonder why we would still ask media houses to pay 5 million shillings as carriage fees from 12 million. I would think it should be free because it is taxpayers' money that we have allocated to Signet. Three, as a consumer, I would still want to know how much tax I pay per unit because they said in the recommendation that UCC should do enhanced reduction on tax rates on the units or bundles. I would equally want to know how much. Lastly, government promised free internet services in this country. I would want the committee to also brief the House on the status of the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There is that honorable colleague, yes, in the red, and then Lionel Singopek. And,
thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
The whip of DP. And then Sironko. Sironko, I've taken long without seeing you in the House.
Yeah, thank
Then
you
I
very
come
much,
here.
Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, my name is Vincent Shedrick Obong, Member of Parliament, Leda West Division, Leda City. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue I want to raise is about the hidden costs that we have been experiencing by these telephone companies. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue I want to raise here might appear to be small, but whatever we are discussing here, we are taking into ponderation the matters concerning the people who are out there who may not have the opportunity to come and talk here for themselves. It is also important for us to note here that, Right Honorable Speaker, that there are costs that are not always displayed, but we are footing as Ugandans. We are footing as subscribers. And I want to draw an example here that I have noticed on a number of occasions that when you use your mobile money and you know the amount that you had there originally, after sending to someone, there are costs that are always displayed, and there are others which will never be displayed. And this is affecting us. Very many people have complained about it, but there is no way that we can get out of these doldrums when the issues are not raised.
Honorable Lionel Singopek.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Colleagues, 2 minutes.
On 30th September 2016, the ICT Minister then, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, launched free zone internet services in Kampala. And after a few days or months, that service disappeared, and yet it was undertaken by the ministry and NITA. So we would want, through you, the chairperson of this committee, to tell us how far and why did this program stall. Then finally, we have more cash on this from services from telecom companies. I'm a regular borrower, but sometimes when you save, your savings keep disappearing, and when you go to complain, they tell you different stories. So they would have picked interest in such issues, because matters to deal with money is a serious matter. Thank you.
DP.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank first of all the petitioners that brought the petition to this House that enabled the committee to come up with this good report. I thank the chairperson and his team. Right Honorable Speaker, my concern is about the safety and privacy of subscribers. The fraudsters that defraud members of the public have fairly good information, enough information about the individuals they are contacting. That gives me fear that our privacy, our data, our information that we give to these service providers when we are registering, we are not being protected. So I see that in that area we really need to be protected such that the information we give are fairly protected so that they are not easily accessed. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the mushrooming towers that we have in these villages, the towers for these communication companies, I wonder the safety aspect to the population. If so many of them are put, we need to guard our population also regarding the safety. Thirdly, the committee came up with a finding that some of our users are ignorant about the different devices which they can use to lower down the cost. I see this as a problem because the information, the messages, the sensitization that the population are sensitized, the languages used, the billboards that are put, you find that a billboard in Acholi.
Sironko. Sironko.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for recognizing that you've not been seeing me in the House. And for that reason, I take this opportunity to congratulate you upon your achievement as our Speaker. For the Hansard, Mwamala Nambozo Florence Mayoga, the woman representative for Sironko District. I want to thank the committee and the chair for a very, very comprehensive report. Right Honorable Speaker, my points are at leakage. When you look at the media centers, as a person who has been to court, at one point you find that your opponent has been given information about you without your information. And we are wondering how, where do they get this, where do they get permission to get into your contacts or to get through your line and get information about you without your knowledge? Then two, Right Honorable Speaker, is the tracking system. We have got challenges of criminal records sometimes in this country. And it is very, very perturbing that even UCC cannot come in and help the country to be able to track someone by their contacts. What happens in that case? I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. There is that honorable lady next to Chemonges. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the chairperson for the presentation of the good report to this House. I'm Zawede Victoria, Soman Member of Parliament, Nakasongola District. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to talk about the blocked urgent lines in Uganda. We have very many Ugandans who are transacting business with different telecommunication networks, for example, MTN. But Right Honorable Speaker, for your information, those people who go out of capital, their lines are blocked immediately. So I'm requesting the chairperson to please kindly include that point of unblocking the blocked urgent lines to enable the Ugandans to transact business and earn a living. Thank you so much.
Ruhama.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this chance. My name is Kamukama Benjamin, representing people of Ruhama East. Right Honorable Speaker, Allow me to thank the committee for the good work they have done. But there is one issue they haven't addressed. There is the issue of network interference, especially for us who represent the constituents, so people who are close to the border with Rwanda and Congo and Tanzania. When you are in those villages, Right Honorable Speaker, you only pick the network of Rwanda or Tanzania. Even when you are close to the mast constructed in Uganda. So there is that issue. Another issue, Right Honorable Speaker, is the cost of land. These operators don't have land. They are building their masts on the land of Ugandans. But if you check and look at the money which are being paid to these people, it's very little money. They are being cheated. So I think, Right Honorable Speaker, let's look into the money that is being paid to these people. Another issue, Right Honorable Speaker, is the effects of masts on the people. Some time back we are told that these masts have some effects they put on people who are around them. But the committee report has not addressed that issue, and I think it is very important that we really look into it so that the side effects are prevented. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Maracha, followed by Youth National.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
And then Napak.
Truaru Jennifer, the woman MP Maracha, for record purposes. I want to thank the committee for the comprehensive report. I have one issue, and that is when you lose a line, you're supposed to replace. And when you replace, you're supposed to go to the police. When you reach the police, you're supposed to part with some money in order to provide for you the letter. And that is a requirement. So I want to find out why the police asks for that money. It's a serious issue because an ordinary woman, an ordinary person in the village cannot get the money. So that is my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Youth National.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to thank the chairperson for the comprehensive report. Right Honorable Speaker, I have just two issues that I would like to highlight. One is the matter of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying has continuously become a very, very pertinent problem in Uganda as a country. It is affecting young people, particularly in terms of mental health. There are very many suicidal cases that we have as a result of cyberbullying, and no particular intervention has been put in place by government to see that we have preventive measures on the respective use of the media. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to request through the chairperson of the committee, and I hope this directly reaches to the minister in charge of ICT as well, to have a particular program that is rolled out for young people in this country on the purposive use of internet. The internet is a very good drive towards development, but is also destructive when not regularized. So we would like to have a program that reaches out to safeguarding the moralities of young people in this country. Thank you.
Napak.
Right Honorable Speaker, allow me also to thank the committee for an excellent job. I want to comment on the issue of data, internet data access, especially for secondary schools. Right Honorable Speaker, the secondary schools in the country are implementing a curriculum that requires the students to do research. But the access to data for research, the books are not there. I wonder how we are managing those children. I visited my daughter recently, and she told me that I should inform the school to make sure there is access to data. We could consider asking the ministry to negotiate lower rates or for government to take care of that cost. Otherwise, We are wasting time with our children in school and they cannot learn. In that new curriculum, I don't even know how the rural schools are managing. Let's do that as a matter of urgency. As a house, let's interest ourselves. Our children in that age bracket, S2 and below now, they are really struggling. Secondly, internet access and even network access for many places of the country, especially in Karamoja. It's not there completely in some places. And Bukedi, number of regions in the country need access to network. Let's make it look like, let's make it compulsory that every part of Uganda is connected to some network to ease communication. Thank you, Right Honorable.
I can see no Max Ochai, right zone Kameme. So, Honorable Nakut, on that, colleagues, please, the speaker is speaking. Now you're standing on. So, on the issue raised by Honorable Faith Nakut, there is what we call zero rating. Okay? So, in most countries, governments zero rate education-related websites. If it's just for education matters, that is upload of education material, revision, research, then government directs that it's zero rated. Like how you're seeing free-to-air channels for TV. They cut off DSTV, but you continue watching UBC because it's a free-to-air channel. So, Chairman, you need to look at recommending zero rating of education websites where students can do research and all that. Honorable,
thank you so much.
No, please. That's not how I work, Honorable. Please, I'm orderly and I expect you to be orderly. Honorable Anua Richard, okay? And there will be Anua Richard. Yeah, will be followed by Koboko and Bungoko.
Thank you, Right Honorable
Then I'm coming, colleagues, don't mind.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. For record purpose, I'm Anua Ricky, MP, Agago West constituency. The Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to appreciate you on how you handle this House. You're deploying the competency needed to run the House. The Right Honorable Speaker, allow me also to thank the Chairman for providing us with the report. The Right Honorable Speaker, through you, I would like to request UCC to increase the network coverage, especially in the area surrounding the Karamoja districts, especially Agago district where I come from. The Right Honorable Speaker, due to lack of network, it has given advantage and mileage to the Karamojan raiders because the civilian cannot communicate with the army when the Karamojan are either planning to raid or they have raided our cows. Also, the Right Honorable Speaker, due to lack of network, our children cannot study, especially where the government is promoting studying online. The Right Honorable Speaker, I request that more.
Yeah, thank you. I had said Koboko. Is this Ivan? Choma? Hey, Choma, you've grown old. Eh? Koboko. Colleagues, at such a time, what I usually do, I usually consider those who haven't spoken. That's number one, especially on debates of a general nature. Number two, when I see a colleague who has, I've not seen a colleague submitting in around 2 sessions, previous sessions, I tend to focus on that colleague. And number three, when I pick a person from your district, you know the chances of picking you are very, very high because you're from the same. We try to reach now. each one of us comes here independently, but I'm trying to reach in all tentacles, trying to touch here and there. That's the aim. Otherwise, if I had the way each one of you would speak, yeah, I would. I know you have different matters to raise, but also I don't have time. I don't have where to buy time. Yeah. Koboko.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and the chairman who presented the report. Right Honorable Speaker, mine is about eWaste, and he touched on it in his report, and good enough we have the Minister of Water and Environment here, that there's a lot of e-waste that is generated in this country from phones, laptops, computers, and sometimes I wonder where does it end up. And likewise, he mentioned that there are a lot of mineral components like titanium and all that, some of which are very corrosive and harmful to our health and the environment. So I would really want them to shed more light on the direction of e-waste. Secondly, from the security perspective, Right Honorable Speaker, right now we are operating an oligopoly. That is 2 operators. So if they woke up tomorrow and charged the prices high, we would be in trouble and we could not do anything legally. So it's my humble request, Right Honorable Speaker, that we fast track the functionality of UTL. And of course, from the security perspective, we cannot have our national security and data housed in foreign companies. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues in the public gallery, this afternoon, we have the Speaker of Mayuge District Local Council, Mr. Osinde Anthony, and Youth Councillor Kariro District, Ms. Ruth Namkobe. They have just been attending the just concluded launch of the National State of Youth Affairs, so they've been presented by the youth MPs. And colleagues, welcome. I hope you're learning a thing or two in terms of steering the house in your district. Yes, So I had gone to Bungoko and then I come to Iva and Honorable Choma.
Thank you.
Bungoko I'm taking. Ensure you represent the whole of Bungoko.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. And I want to also add my voice to thank the chairperson for a detailed and well-articulated report. Right Honorable Speaker, last week the Minister of Education and Sports brought to this House an information that the national fiber coverage, especially in the schools, is only 49%. And yet all the schools, especially candidate classes, are supposed to submit e-registration with very stringent deadlines. Right Honorable Speaker, I would love that this also goes down to the recommendation about the plan, especially for the infrastructure development of the network, especially to reach all our rural schools to meet this obligation. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Choma. Then Honorable Benisinjiro.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I take this pleasure to thank the chairman and his committee for a good and elaborate report with those recommendations. Mr. Speaker, I think this report will go a long way really to somehow tame some of these telecommunication companies, because they have been operating as if actually they're operating in an environment that is not regulated. Other than the drop calls, there are also drop messages. You send a message, the response will be message not sent, but the money will be deducted. Then, and you will never, of course, get the refund of that money. Then the issue of registration. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, you can actually register for one SIM card like 3 times in a year. You go there, they say bring a national ID, you take it, but another day they will actually switch you off without notice, and as one member put it, you have to go to the service center
Some of us who represent rural constituencies, you will hardly find a service center in a constituency like in Iban, and also we don't have it. You have to travel for distances, consider the cost of fuel. So I thank the committee, and my prayer is that these recommendations are really followed up and implemented. I thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Reuben.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I trust your eye has seen me. I also want to thank the chair for the good report. Mr. Speaker, when you go towards the borders, there is a problem. You find that the network of the other countries, for example, I'm mentioning Isingiro West constituency where I come from, and I border Tanzania and Rwanda. So the networks and signals of Rwanda and Tanzania subdue ours. You find when you are inside Uganda, you either have to go on roaming or buy a SIM card from the other neighboring country. So I would like this committee to look into that matter. Thank you very much.
Haji Kiboga West, Mutumba.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the record, my name is Mutumba Abdul, representing Kiboga West County. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you so much because I've stood in this house 110 times without catching the Speaker's eye. So today, I want to say, praise the Lord. Mr. Speaker, the issue I want to raise on this report, first of all, I want to thank the chairperson of the committee, Honorable Magogo, and the members. The issue I would like to talk about today, Right Honorable Speaker, is the cost of the towers. I think in the last 2 years, there is a company called American Tower Company who was in my district putting up towers. And it was only offering 500,000 shillings, 500,000 for the land where they were constructing the towers. And some time back when MTN and Airtel were putting up similar towers in the same district, we are offering hundreds of millions, between 100 and to 200, for the same piece of land. I wonder what is happening today, because this is an American company. I don't know whether it was contracted by government. We would like to know, the public would like to know, what is the exact cost of the land where these towers are being put, and who regulates, and how should the nationals go about it, because we see as if exploitation is going around. Thank you, Mr.
Colleagues, I'm going to start provoking some of you. We have an expert on ICT matters in this house. He doesn't want to guide us. I'm going to force him to use my powers to force him to guide us. Honorable Andrew Jokoranya. He has just come from NITA, Uganda. He's one of the IT experts in this country. You've heard the issues. We want you to guide this house. Because you were in when they were presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the chair. I distance myself from the debate because I'm a member of the ICT committee.
Oh.
So I've tried also make comments through the chair.
But you never participated in making this report because it was made before you were made an MP. So I observed. But if you have nothing to add on this,
I actually have, but I've channeled through the chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, colleagues, let me pick Bugendera, and then Mama in the corner. And if there is an MP, and Honorable Atima Jackson. I'm trying to pick MPs whom I know.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
No,
for the opportunity of also adding my voice onto the voices of colleagues on this matter. Otherwise, I was losing hope also. Right Honorable Speaker, whereas my colleagues have unfair and unsatisfactory services, Bugendera is having poor network services. Bugendera is a hard-to-reach area, Right Honorable Speaker, and as a hard-to-reach area, network accessing someone when he's down there is a very big problem. And how I wish the telecommunication network service providers come on the ground and serve the people there. Right Honorable Speaker, we happen to be at the border with DR Congo and we have a problem of Vodacom. Vodacom is a very big problem in that once it has entered into your phone, you can not able communicate. And now that we have a problem of and the programs of the parish model, it is really very hard and not possible for government to implement some government programs. So my prayer, Right Honorable.
So that Lematia, I think that's the Lematia road. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. You are just like Jesus who saw the lame one. My time is going. Protect me, please. I want to thank the chairman for the comprehensive report. Somebody talked about these masks. I am very much against these masks because nobody knows the amount of radium these gadgets emit to our people in the vicinity. Now, the other time when it started, I was in charge of schools. I used to refuse it to be put, these masks to be put very close to the schools for the fear of the radium. But when they introduced the 7 million, people would yield very easily. But now when I had 500, a person's life is not worth that. It is high time, Chairman, I think we need to do research to see, since this thing started, the people within the circle, how much of radium they have absorbed in their bodies. Nobody even bothers to test their thyroid gland to see how much. Otherwise, we shall be turned like Hiroshima in Japan. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Atima?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Who is that lady behind there? I think, okay, you will follow Honorable Atima.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank the committee chair and the committee members for a elaborate report presented to this House. Right Honorable Speaker, my concern is similar to the one raised by Honorable Ruth. The health concerns have not been well addressed in this matter, especially the masks that are put in densely populated areas like the one I lead. And also, some of these masks are put on structures where people are occupying these houses. So the committee needs to do more on analyzing the substances emitted by these gadgets, which may be dangerous to human life. Two, I would like to raise and add my voice on the bundles that are just being cut by some of the companies. Not only bundles, even airtime. Some of us are businessmen. We load airtime to a tune of 200, 300, 500 on our phones. But all of a sudden, you find this airtime is no more. You wonder where it has gone. So that also needs to be addressed seriously. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. For record purposes, Mayo Jennifer Narukwago, Kalaki District. Right Honorable Speaker, my concern is on some of the telecom companies that are actually offering health insurance. For example, the MTN with the IO. They put adverts that are so attractive on TVs, but they don't give clearly the terms and conditions. Now, when you save with IO, and then maybe you get a problem and you need your money to help you, you will realize that the terms and conditions are so some of the members cannot actually manage the terms and conditions. You follow up for quite a period of time and you give up, and these monies have ended up actually disappearing, and the company, I think, takes the money. So I request that the chairperson of the committee finds a way of having that captured in the report. Thank you.
Honorable Joel Leku.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I take this opportunity to thank the committee for the report. Right Honorable Speaker, we have a problem of connection of internet and general network, even in government entities. Imagine up to now, there are still district headquarters, like Terego district headquarters at Leju. There's no network. And yet government has moved on e-procurement, on IFMIS, and other use of internet. But how are these people going to report? There's a serious challenge. So the committee needs to recommend, we need to make a recommendation to the committee, a directive actually. All the government entities, the district headquarters should have access to internet and good network. 2, also, government needs to bring in cheap, affordable phones. Having access to smartphone is no longer a luxury. I really agree. Because we need to report cases of abuse of government property, which are supposed to be reported by locals. Corruption cases in the villages. How do we get through this? We are not in the villages. But people who are supposed to report this do not have access to smartphones, no access to internet. I beg to submit. Thank you.
There is that colleague. Yes, I'm not picking his name well.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Dr. Samad Abraham is my name. Member of Parliament, Kapiri County, in Ngora District, Teso Sub-Region. Right Honorable Speaker, my concern is still on security, more so protection of clients. Recently, when we went out on PDA mobilization and sensitization, a friend of mine approached me and informed me that, Doctor, I have been calling you, but the person receiving the call is not you. And then I tasked him, kindly, can you call that person when both of us are here? And indeed, he called that person. And his call was received by that person in my presence. In my presence. And I asked him, man, this line I've used it for almost 20 years. How come that you have the same contact? He insisted that it is his line. Right Honorable Speaker, this is like a security matter, because everything that we discuss on phones, if people can access it without our consent, then it becomes a security matter. I pray that the companies involved in this kind of business should really look into this issue so that we are protected. I beg to submit.
So,
Thank you.
Honourable Minister of Security, I think you need to extract the Hansard, today's Hansard. You look through you concentrate, you look at it, and you look at the security-related issues. You interest yourself, because the ministers of ICT and all that, they usually interest themselves in connectivity and all that, but the security element, and you can link up with the chairperson of the committee. He will give you more information because he has received more complaints. Youth Western.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to go straight and applaud the government of Uganda, one, for desisting from pressures and not interfering in fixing of prices for data and voice bundles. We know most of our neighboring countries enjoy lower rates because they fix prices. We also understand that would be dangerous for us because that kills innovation and drive for investment. I thank you. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, as the report notes, that data remains unaffordable for most Ugandans. This is because there are two almost key players who have monopoly over this. Right Honorable Speaker, mine would be to urge government to quickly fast-track the recommendations of the committee to implement any of the measures that can bring down the price of data. Right Honorable Speaker, you will note, whereas you and I and others use MTN and Airtel, the young people now have run to Smile, to Laika Mobile, but these cannot go beyond Kampala. They only are restricted to very few areas in the country. And yet, if we had a policy like a unified transmission of data, would bring these costs much lower, and this would make sure it is accessible to most of our people. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, I would not do good for the young people of this country to leave the microphone without talking about the continued closure of social media platforms like Facebook. Right Honorable Speaker, this is exposing our young people to virtual private networks through which they lose a lot of data and also get exposed to some other websites which they would not access if this was not closed. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to urge the and any other person and government to quickly intervene and open up the social media platform called Facebook to allow our young people continue with their business as usual. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Buhenju. And I will conclude on this side with the senior from Bukanga.
Yeah.
Who usually
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Colleagues, I see all of you. I see all of you.
Right,
and, listen, and I don't marry any of you. And usually what I see when I'm chairing, if I don't pick you today, chances are high tomorrow I start with you. You get it? And now we opened up, you no longer attend in groups. So you will forgive me. I know nothing I can do to satisfy all of you. But I try in my level best to be as fair as possible. It's not easy. If I put you here, you look for 10 people to pick and you fail. So,
thank you much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Chair and the committee for a good and hands-on report and to the grassroots. Right Honorable Speaker, I begin with the issue of cost. In Buheru, we have scanty network. Most of the costs that we incur in saying hello, hello, hello when someone calls. For 5 minutes, you have not yet accessed a person. Right Honorable Speaker, that one increases on our costs. Hold on, please. Second, Right Honorable Speaker, it is about the issue of our personal security. Many people in my area, they have to climb trees. Kata say that we are a tropical forest area. You find 5 people climbing a tree in order to access the network up there to call their friends across the borders. Right Honorable Speaker, my colleague, thank you very much. Thirdly, Right Honorable Speaker, recently we have had a problem of civil servants failing to access payroll.
Honorable Minister, you've captured the issue of the must. Honorable Bukanga, before you conclude, allow me to do a special case for Mubende. Mubende. No, I don't pick regions, Honorable. I pick members. I don't pick Busoga, Buganda, where no.
Thank you very much, Right
Mubende.
Honorable Speaker. I finally caught your eye. For record, I'm Hope Grania Nakaziwe, woman member of Parliament, Mubende. Honorable Nsero mentioned that there is very low usage of internet in the villages, but I want to attribute this to lack of computers in schools, more so in those rural communities where they cannot access private schools. The only thing they have are government schools which do not have computers. I would like to request the chairperson of the Committee of ICT to recommend the Minister of ICT and Minister of Education to work together to see that they distribute computers to some of our rural community schools. The other thing I want to talk about, Right Honorable Speaker, that we should not take for granted is the issue of more than one person having the same phone number. This is an issue that I've been directed by the people of Mubende to speak about. People send mobile money and it lands on the same number but to a different person. That should be handled seriously. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kanga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me add my voice to colleagues about this good report. I would request that the committee, they interest themselves in the role, the act we have. UCC has been sleeping on a job. They get 2% of the money from these network people. But 0.5 is supposed to go for rural communication. They are supposed to regulate all these companies. You recall MTN took the monopoly over Airtel. Now they are at equal pace. But let the committee, Mr. Speaker, get the licenses for those two companies. You will be shocked what they are doing now. They no longer even put up the masts. So I feel that the moment you look at the act, it was supposed they are profit-making people. But we said the money that goes to UCC, part of the money should be help those companies to put up those masts into the far-reaching areas. So at the end of the day, each sub-county should have a communication center. So I beg to move that committee gets interested in the agreements they made. Celtel, which was formerly Warid, and MTN. Of course, MTN has really made, you can't believe it. There are really people who have made a mess of this, the whole thing, because of the monopoly. So I request that they move ahead, look at the law and the licenses. We shall get better services for this country. I thank you.
Now, colleagues, in relation to that matter, I'm going to request all colleagues who have no network in their areas. We are going to get one focal point. We register. Okay? Let us register. I'm going to ask the clerk to open a registration desk at the front for the whole of next week, so that we get all records, because I've seen the telecoms are putting masks in many places. You might find some are getting more masks when others don't even have anything. And then as the leadership of the House, we shall formally now communicate this to the Minister and we link up with the telco. Tomorrow I'm attending a function of American Tower Company. Okay? These are some of the issues I will raise so that we see this fund, and we are going to raise it with UCC, this fund which is supposed to be helping rural communities. What is it doing? What is it doing? Can we have an audit of that fund? We are going to interest ourselves into that fund, what it is doing. Number one, it should be giving network to all communities, you know. So please, clerk, do the whole of next week. Ensure the list is brought to my office and the office of the Speaker, and we are going to see some action taken in that regard. We help colleagues to ensure you get network in your areas. If you don't register as a colleague, please then you will not blame us, because we are going to follow up on that list seriously to ensure that our colleagues receive masks. So, Honorable Shadow Minister, yes, please, I'm the presiding officer. Hey, you can't refuse what I've decided.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Anifa, I'm presiding here. Kindly allow me we move. Honorable Namuga, please, and also speak for Honorable Anifa, because you come from the same district. Hey, capture her views.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I think as her minister in this line, I will ably represent her as she also does
shadow minister.
Yes, in the
Please.
alternative government, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank the chair of the committee for ably representing the committee. Right Honorable Speaker, it has been a tendency of government on failing to implement the resolutions of Parliament. But I kindly request that these are given urgent attention. One is putting in UCC putting structures for implementation of the Communications Tribunal. That is very urgent. Right Honorable Speaker, also the issue of the cost of power when it comes to umeme should also be considered, because a common Ugandan wonders, how do we come to a cost of a unit of power in this country? So this should also be looked into, because all this increases the cost of production in this country. Right Honorable Speaker, there are areas that have suffered on issues of network because they are not profit-making to these companies that are doing business. These companies only concentrate in areas that, that have... I kindly beg for your indulgence. Right Honorable Speaker, there are some areas that are suffering because of that low population and lack of business for these companies. UCC should take it upon to themselves to ensure that every area in this country is covered in terms of network. Right Honorable Speaker, I also bring to your attention the issues of the companies that are giving us services. There are serious complaints on the side of government. The licensing process is simply too long. The lead times are so many. It takes American Tower 6 months to access a license. So all these issues should be looked into to improve services given to our people. Right Honorable Speaker, the cost of steel in terms of raw materials is expensive. So why don't we concentrate on extracting our own raw materials so that we reduce the cost of importation of raw materials to this country? And I think that's the reason as to why the cost of production and the escalating prices of common commodities is high in this country. So really, with all this done, I implore this House that we adopt the recommendations of this very important committee. This issue is very pertinent and really touches the life of a very common Ugandan. Communication is not something that you cannot underestimate. Communication is relevant to every stakeholder in this country. So I thank the chairperson and your mighty committee for doing us a service. Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker.
Before the Prime Minister left, she assigned Honorable Bahati to be the acting leader of government business. So, Honorable, do you have anything you want to comment on the side of... Now, Rope, Honorable Bahati, wait. Rope, because you're shadow minister, yeah, but now I want us to always have this trend, okay? Rope, you organize your team. When you assign your shadow minister, then we should be able to summarize on behalf of your side. But now let me first allow you, then we allow government side.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also salute the committee for the report and the particular recommendations that have been made on taxes. But it's rather unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this comes at a time when the budget of 2020-2023 has already been approved by this House. And like the executive has always been very reluctant in coming up or even implementing the acts of Parliament. You know very well that the tribunal that you have made mention of, it's the one that handles all matters that are affecting ICT, including petitions, Mr. Speaker, sir. This particular petition that we are deliberating upon could have been easily handled by the technocrats in that tribunal. But can you imagine that it's 25 years down the road, ever since the Uganda Communications Act? And if you read section 60 of that act, it's the one that establishes the tribunal. But as usual, this government is very reluctant and sleeping on job, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, the Minister of Trade is here. And I will remind you that as East Africa, particularly the three countries, the coalition of the willing, at one time, Rwanda, Uganda, and Kenya, uniting to reduce barriers on trade. They agreed to reduce roaming charges of phones. And we expected that there would be cheaper cross-border. I'm concluding. But Mr. Speaker, so up to now, I'm wondering, and I would love to see the minister, since he's the one holding the fort for the lead of government business, respond to this question. Why is it that these cheaper cross-border phone calls have not come to pass up to now? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Leader of Opposition, that's a very important point. I think we should also task our MPs for East African Legislative Assembly to debate this issue in EARA and even pass a resolution in that regard for the heads of state to look at in the Assembly. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the executive, we want to thank first the petitioner who put this petition to the House and the chair and the committee for a value-adding report that they have brought to the House, and to confirm to the House that we will look at all the recommendations that have been made and then make sure that we use them to inform the policy moving forward. But I wanted also to use this time to make a few comments on the report and also the comments that have come from the House. The first one is on access to internet and the cost of internet. Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, as you are aware, we have done now 4 phases of the national backbone to be able to extend internet to the people of Uganda. And government is in the process of starting on the phase 5. We are processing a loan from the Exim Bank of China to ensure that all corners of Uganda get the last mile phase 5 of the national backbone, so that the access of internet ceases to be now an issue, and then we work on the cost of internet. Somebody raised on the issue of the mobile money and issues to do with dormant accounts. Mr. Speaker, we passed here a national payment system law that we are implementing to protect everybody who is working, who is using the mobile money as a means of transaction. So that is really to comfort members that the law is there. There are issues of privacy that members raised. Here we have a law on interception of communications. Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm, and the Minister of Security is here, that the government is interested in the security of its people, the security of the country and the property, not to inch on the privacy of individuals. So the bill feel comfortable that your privacy is protected by the law, and the government is interested in matters of security, matters of criminality, not other issues of individuals. We are processing a cyber law to protect cyber bullying and other related matters. And as members said, this technology is a good enabler. It helps us in security, to grow the economy and others. But if it's not well regulated, can actually be a danger to our children. And therefore, because of realization of that fact, the government is processing a bill, the cyber security bill, which will address most of these
most of these issues. Telecom companies are licensed to provide network to all areas of the country. But we realize that there are some spots that don't have internet. So we'll be talking to the telecom companies to ensure that the license they have, the license that we have issued as government, is to cover. If you are MTN, you should cover from Kabale to Karamoja. And everybody should have access to equal network. And therefore, we'll be talking to the telecom companies to ensure that they stick to the conditions of the licenses so that all people of Uganda can access internet equally. Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, I want to really thank you for this, and I must say that this is very that reports of this nature are being debated in the House to add value to the policy formulation of this country, and certainly ICT is a good enabler of our economy, good enabler of our security, and the issues raised, including issues of the leader of opposition, roaming. I come from the border. Sometimes when in one of the sub-counties, I have to use the code of Rwanda to call somebody in Uganda. But we are discussing as a community to make sure that those things are sorted out. So it's just a matter of time. Most of these issues will be handled. But thank you very much for the contribution of each member here. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the value-adding report. And the Minister of Environment is telling me here that e-waste, we have now a center to handle those issues of e-waste management, including the things that come from the telecom companies. So we'll be coming with these laws, and when we come, please do support it. And I've also seen members say that the ICT sector needs to be resourced. This was Honorable Seleko, who has also moved the private members' bill to handle other issues of social media. And when we work together, I'm sure that most of these issues, government and parliament working together, will be able to handle these issues that have been raised in the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Chair.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I'll take this opportunity to thank you for the various contributions you've made to our report, and of course thanking us for the job done. And a number of points that have been taken, and I would like, with the permission of the Speaker, to propose that in order, and you guided us very well, Right Honorable Speaker, that the recommendations that are being made here be added to the report. However, we are requesting, or I would like to request on behalf of the committee, that you allow us to repackage, because some of them are scattered, and it would be very difficult for the Hansard to capture them in the way they are to make a meaning, since some of this is a technical language, and we would like to make recommendations that are actually implementable. The second thing is a few areas, and I will be very fast, that I would like to try and give some light. I'll try to summarize them. The areas that members contributed to. There's an area of cost. Everybody has talked about cost. And the cost is determined by cost drivers, is determined by numbers of subscribers. And also, there is one thing that inside the report, I might have not mentioned it, that we are recommending, that you see, most of the internet users, internet becomes a cost because it includes the cost of us when we pay to go to what they call the internet tier 1, and that's the network at the world level. But you could be moving information from within Uganda to within Uganda. And we have recommended that we need to have the Uganda cluster such that you can be able to access some information without necessarily getting out of Uganda, which would be cheaper and therefore not pay. So cost is being driven down, and it will continue to be driven down. Then the issue of security and fraud would have further discussion, with the people in security, because not only technology, but we must also appreciate that technology, especially information technology, is new, and it is convenient to use, but it also has challenges. Therefore, we will try to work with the people in security to ensure that some of these cases mentioned can be adequately addressed. There was also the issue of Ombachi Earth satellite that was raised. My colleague, I would like to inform you that having an Earth satellite does not improve anything in terms of communication. Actually, the Earth satellite stations no longer have a value addition in terms of communication. What happens is that what we need is the footprint of the satellite. That signal which comes from the satellite flashing like a torch on the geography of Uganda as a map. Otherwise, Earth satellite stations are used to transmit the signal up. They don't help the neighbors. It is what comes down from the satellite that helps the users.
So, Honorable Chair, reports of this, you can take your seat. Debate and reports of this nature, unlike the executive, which is supposed to go and take action, for you, the submissions are usually to guide you and enrich you when you're doing your work as a committee. So you don't need to respond to members. It's usually the executive, because it is going to take a certain action, that must respond. So these ones are for information purposes and contributing to enabling you make decisions in the committees. So your purpose usually, unless a member has asked for a clarification, for you, you're supposed to come here, you acknowledge receipt of these recommendations and contributions, and you inform members how you're going to use them in doing your work as a chair and as a committee. So you don't need to respond to members one by one, but you take note of their contributions. So you can resume, and you do that, and we conclude. Chair.
Thank you for the guidance. And at the beginning of my submission, I thanked the members, but let me do that again for the enrichment of our report. And I've also requested, Right Honourable Speaker, that if you allow us to repackage these recommendations in a language that can make the recommendations implementable. If that's allowed, I'd like to thank the members and also to thank my committee that worked tirelessly to ensure that we make this report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman, for the very good report, and the committee. Clerk, I told the Chairman to summarize this report, so the Hansard might not capture very important aspects of the report, which he didn't read. So I hereby direct that the whole report be captured on the Hansard to help whoever will be reading the Hansard in future. And then, Kirak, please, I want to save the Chairman from the burden of extracting and polishing. Please extract these recommendations together with the Hansard, forward them to the Minister, and as per Rule 220 of our Rules of Procedure, let the Minister in 3 months, I want to give him time, I don't want us to panic. In 3 months, the Minister should come back here with an action taken report. Some of these recommendations really need some time, and they need cabinet to sit, and also money to be provided, and also various stakeholders to be engaged. So in 3 months, the Minister should come back here and give us an action taken report. So with those, I now put a question that the report of the Committee of ICT on information, communication technology and national guidance in the petition of unsatisfactory and unfair service delivered by various telecommunication service providers in Uganda be adopted with additional recommendations as presented by colleagues in the House. Those in favor say aye, those against say nay. Apart from Honorable Wasarira, the ayes have it. Next item.
Item number 6 on the order paper, presentation of petition by the Ankole Pensioners Association.
Honorable Twasima Joram Ruranga, MP for the Elderly. So this is a very important petition. It might sound as unquery, but if you've read through, these are issues affecting pensioners. But because he's an MP for the elderly for Western Region, and it's a petition from that group, honorable colleagues, you listen to him. I thank you. Honorable.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Joram Ruranga Twasima, and I represent the old persons of Western Uganda.
Honorable, I give you permission to remove your mask, so that.
Okay.
You
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I am moving this petition under rule number 30 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The humble petition of Ankwere Petitioners Association states that the Ankwere Pensioners Association consists of members from 18 paying stations, which include so many districts and municipalities. Because there are many, it will take us a long time, but they are 18 in number. The petitioners are aggrieved by the unrealistic mode of adjustment of pension payable under the Pensions Act, Cap 286, and the irregular payment of pension to the petitioners. Previously, government policy was that whenever the salaries of serving public officers were enhanced, the pension payable would be revised accordingly to correspond with the increment made to the salaries of serving public officers. That policy played a fundamental role in enhancing the pension package of the petitioners, which enabled the gradual realization of improved social protection. However, subsequently, government adopted a system that allows for periodic review of pension payable to take into account the changes in value of money. Accordingly, the Minister of Public Service issued the Pensions Act Amendment on the first schedule, Instrument 2018, whose objective was to provide for periodic review of pension payable based on the inflation rate. The petitioners are aggrieved, are concerned about the mode of determining increment to the pension payable based on the inflation rate approach, given that the rate of inflation is usually very nominal and cannot enable the pensioners attain a reasonable standard of living during their retirement. Honorable Speaker, I have a range of inflation rates given at the end of this petition, and I will let you know about them. Worse still, following the issuance of Pensions Act Amendment of First Schedule, Instrument 2018, on 13th August 2021, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, communicated to the responsible officers in the ministries, departments, cities, and local governments, informing them of the adjustments to be effected on the pensioners' payroll of September 2021 and the adjustments of 3.6% and 2.3% were to be effected for 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 financial years, respectively. However, these adjustments have not been effected. On the other hand, whereas government revalidated the pensioners' arrears for the period 1988-2001 and remitted pension in arrears to some pensioners, other pensioners were not paid. The petitioners who substantially depend on their pension for their livelihood have been left frustrated, vulnerable, and unable to meet the medical care and other necessities of life. And that make it worse, those who have reached the age of 75 years are supposed to have been paid full pension, but they are not. So now therefore, by this petition, the petitioners pray that Parliament urges government, 1, to repeal the Pensions Act Amendment First Schedule Instrument 2018, which provides for periodic review of the pension payable to take into account the changes in the value of money and revert back to the policy where increment or adjustment to the pension payable was based on the enhancement of salary of serving public officers, especially these days that we have seen some public officers' salaries being enhanced. We envisage that there will be more enhancement in future. And if the pensioners are not well catered for, they will still get a peanut. B, to pay all the arrears that have since accrued to the petitioners, and that the payment of eligible pensioners attaining the age of 75 years should be automatic rather than going to apply for this full pension. And lastly, establish a salary review commission to look into the salaries discrepancies of government workers and the pensioners. And your humble petitioners are duty-bound and will ever pray. And here too, your humble petitioners have appended their signatures. There are 23 signatures appended here, and that's what the petitioners say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you, Honourable colleague.
And before I go, I lay on table the documents that I have been reading.
Thank you. Honourable colleague, I have perused through the petition and your prayers. All of them fall under the executive. I would have invoked Rule 30, Sub-Rule 5 by sending it to the committee, but I have seen the committee in this kind of petition, there is nothing they can study because your prayers are very specific and clear. So I'm going to invoke Rule 30, Sub-Rule 6, which allows me to refer the petition to the minister. Okay? And then I'll also invoke Rule 220, whereby I'll give the minister a period in which to report back to this House to see what action has been taken on the prayers you have put here. Now, Rule 30, Sub-Rule 10 also talks, if I had taken it to the committee, it would need 45 days. So I will use the 45 days under Rule 30, Sub-Rule 10 to also require the minister to report back within 45 days on the prayers. Now, when the minister fails, it's when I will involve the committee. Otherwise, I need to give the executive chance to take action on very clear prayers that have been prayed here. In 45 days, if the minister doesn't take action, then that's when we shall come in as an executive. But I want to thank you for the action. I have already ruled on that. If it is on this same petition, colleagues, I've already given my guidance and ruling on that matter. I thank you. Next item.
Item 7 on the order paper, presentation of the petition by the project affected persons on the Hoima-Kaiso-Tonya Road project.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Nyakata Snas is my name. I'm the woman member of parliament for Hoima LCT, and I'm presenting the petition for the people of Hoima-Kaiso-Tonya Road. The Republic of Uganda petition moved under Rule 30 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. The humble petition of the project affected persons on the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road project, presented on their behalf by Honorable Nyakato Asinas, the woman member of Parliament for Hoima City, sowes and states that your petitioners are project affected persons on the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road and number over 1,583 persons. The subject matter of the petition is the failure by government through the Uganda National Roads Authority, UNRA, to appropriately value and adequately compensate project affected persons on the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road for land appropriated and other properties destroyed during the construction of the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road. Your petitioners state that government through Uganda National Roads Authority undertook upgrading of the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road from gravel to bitumen standard. The road construction projected required appropriation of land and destruction of property along the 92-kilometer road corridor. UNRA commissioned Comptran Engineering and Planning Associates to carry out a feasibility study, detailed engineering designs, environment impact assessments, and a resettlement action plan. Comptran Engineering and Planning Associates carried out evaluation exercise of the land and property to be affected by the road project and obtained through UNRA approval of the evaluation report from the chief government valuer. The evaluation and compensation process were not carried out in a transparent manner since the project affected persons were not informed of the valuation placed on their land and other properties, and were forced to sign for and receive compensation without being informed of the value attached to their land and property since 2012. This resulting into undervaluation of land appropriated for and property affected by the road project, the non-compensation of project affected persons for property and land appropriated or destroyed, or the payment of compensation below the market price of the appropriated land and properties affected by the road project. The irregular appropriation and non-payment of land beyond requirement of the road project, and the exclusion of some project affected persons from compensation. Your petitioners further aver that the construction of the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road was done with little regard to the communities that live along the road, which has hindered the project affected persons from accessing their land or properties due to lack of access roads, existence of gullies and open trenches along the project area, flooding due to poor drainage, and destruction of their properties which are outside the project area. Therefore, by this petition, the petitioners pray that Parliament urges government to revalue all the properties of the project affected persons and pays compensation to all persons whose property was appropriated or destroyed during the construction of the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road. A relevant committee of Parliament investigates the conduct of UNRA and Comptran Engineering and Planning Associates in the evaluation and compensation of persons affected by upgrading of the Hoima Kaiso Tonya Road. And your humble petitioners, as in duty bound, will ever pray. And here too, your humble petitioners have appended their signatures. Right Honorable Speaker and members, I beg to lay the petition.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Korik. Honorable colleagues, I participated in approval and processing of this loan. under the Committee of National Economy in the 10th Parliament. There is money which was not part of the civil works, but it was supposed to be for additional works in the communities, because we understood that communities might raise issues. You have left this small road, you have left this small road, and we approved in that money. Honorable Bahati, you're the one who presented that petition. So I want to advise colleagues from those areas where they are doing the oil roads. You link up with the UNRA and also the minister, so that that money can be utilized under the loan. Otherwise, it will go back. It will go back. We did it deliberately to include that money. So you might find, as they were doing the road, there are some cross-by roads, connecting roads, which they should be doing. But utilizing the money under the loan, if you don't do that, the money will go back to the Exim Bank. So I'm just giving you that tip that you follow up. These are projects under your area. You get documents. You even call the contractors you interact, how much money was supposed to be for extra works, which would identify as leaders in the communities. And then the cow was supposed to write to UNRA, and then UNRA now would allow the contractors to do the job. Now, this petition is very close. It is also close to the petition that was brought. The complaints are on UNRA. The issues are very specific. We should give a chance to the Minister of Works to take action, because they have very, very explicit views. If I send it to the Committee on Physical Infrastructure, I don't see what they are going to do. They will again come with the same recommendations. So we'd rather give it to the Minister. We give him 45 days to take action and report back to this House on action taken on this petition. Honorable colleague, when the Minister comes here, we shall debate the report. Let's give the Minister a chance on this matter, other than rotating around. For clarification, I didn't mention which minister I had assigned the first petition. It's the Minister of Public Service. Number two, like I had said at the beginning, this is a national matter, so it shouldn't be only for Ankole. Otherwise, elderly people from northern Uganda, those from east, those from central, are all going to bring similar petitions. So the minister should do for the whole country, give a picture for the whole country, by giving a policy guidance and intervention, and ensuring that indeed the issues are handled. I think if we go this way in handling petitions, it will be easy. Honourable ministers, we are giving you a chance to do your work. When you fail, you invite us to the party. Okay? So, no, Honourable, this is a very clear matter. It's a petition, and I've guided on the same. So, next item.
Item number 8 on the order paper, statement.
Colleagues, on petitions, we debate action taken reports. Okay? We don't debate petitions. So don't say, Right Honourable is hurrying to send matters. No, that's how the rules are.
Item 8 on the order paper, statement by the Minister on the Regional Interministerial Conference on Migration, Environment and Climate Change.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, for this opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, the 27th session of the Conference of Parties, that is COP27, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, will be presided by the government of Egypt, and it will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, in November from 6 to 10th, the year 2022. The fact that COP27 is organized on the African continent, it provides a good opportunity for African states to bring their priorities to the global forum, including climate finance, adaptation, loss and damage, migration, and displacement. Honorable Speaker, the government of the Republic of Uganda, spearheaded by the Ministry of Water and Environment, supported by the International Organization for Migration, IOM, Regional Office for East and the Horn of Africa, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, East African Development Bank, as Regional Collaboration Center based in Uganda, are organizing a high-level regional interministerial conference on migration, environment, and climate change in the East and the Horn of Africa. The conference will be held under the theme Enhancing Cooperation in Relation to Climate Change-Induced Human Mobility, including migration, displacement, and planned relocation. Honorable Speaker, the objective of the conference, 1, to bring together a high-level participants from 12 regional member states and other African member states to enhance cooperation in relation to climate change-induced human mobility, including migration, displacement, and planned relocation. 2, it is to advance understanding on the links between climate change, human mobility, and the importance of regional collaboration to ensure effective and accelerated action. 3, to explore areas of cooperation in mitigating the adverse effects and taking advantage of the opportunities of climate change-related mobilities. Lastly, 4th, consider how mitigation, environment, and climate change nexus can be elevated through collaborative effort at global platform and in particular at UNFCCC COPs, including through a joint declaration towards an action-oriented, forward-looking common position. Lastly, it is to identify possible areas of strategic intervention by states, partners, and the wider UN family and regional bodies. Right Honorable Speaker, in attendance at the conference will be the 2 heads of state, the Honorable Excellencies, the President of the Republic of Uganda and the Republic of Kenya, regional ministers from several member states that include, but not limited, to Burundi, Djibouti, the DRC, Congo, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, United Republic of Tanzania, and Uganda. The regional bodies will be also in attendance, the UN agencies that will include the IOM, the UNFCCC, and others, high-level technical experts, government technical representatives, the non-state actors, private sector, the youth representatives, academia and researchers, media, and expected to pool over 1,000 participants from around the world at dedicated hybrid sessions. Mr. Speaker, sir, The conference will run for about 4 days, and it will focus on technical discussion among member states and resource persons acquainted with the subject matter. There will be official closing at the end of all these discussions. Also, we intend to have an outdoor activity for the international delegation that might include visiting the Mabira forest and visiting the source of the Nile in Jinja. Mr. Speaker, all delegates attending the conference will follow the SOPs issued by the Minister of Health in Uganda. And Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the conference will take place at the Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort Hotel in Kampala, Uganda, from the 27th to the 29th July, which is just a few days away this year. And the government of Uganda and the Ministry of Water and Environment, we are already in high gear, prepared and committed to ensure that this historical event has an impactful and expectations of participants are met.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
I conclude by saying, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, that a few members of Parliament, heads of committees, especially the Natural Resource Committee, and some ministers to represent our country are expected to join us at Munyonyo. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. This statement was for information purposes. Thank you, so we take note. Next item.
Item number 9 on the order paper. Response by the Honourable Attorney General on the status of the prosecution of the incarcerated royal guards of Businga Rwenzururu, noting that many of them are critically ill and require urgent medical attention which cannot be obtained in the detention centers.
Honourable Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I have a brief statement. I believe it has been uploaded. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm making this presentation in relation to a matter that was raised by Honourable Atkins, a Member of Parliament for Bukonzo West. The Honourable Member of Parliament sought for information on the status of the prosecution of persons commonly referred to as royal guards or the Obusinga wa Rwenzururu. He also stated that some of them require urgent medical attention that cannot be provided within the prison facilities. Right Honourable Speaker, this is the status report. It will be recalled that in December 2016, 168 accused persons were charged before a magistrate's court in Jinja with the offences of treason, terrorism, murder, attempted murder, and aggravated robbery. These offences, as is well known, relate and still relate to criminal activities carried out by the accused persons prior to or in the context of the uprising that was centered around the Obusinga's Palace in Kasese on or before the night of the 26th of November 2016. The case was moved to Jinja due to the tense security situation in the Rwenzori sub-region at the time. As the investigations progressed, more arrests were made and the total number of those charged increased to 221. These were all committed to High Court for trial in 2017. Out of the 221 accused persons, 11 were released on bail in 2017, and another 143 were released in January 2021. These returned to their respective homes in the Rwenzori sub-region. They report regularly to the High Court and Chief Magistrates Court within the jurisdiction of their residence. but they are expected to report to the International Crimes Division, Kololo, for trial, for pre-trial hearing. The rest of the accused persons were denied bail for various reasons and are still remanded in Luzira and Jinja. The pre-trial hearing of the case commenced in December 2020, but was constantly interrupted by the COVID-19 restrictions. Nonetheless, when the restrictions were lifted, the process resumed in earnest. A number of pre-trial conferences have been held to deal with preliminary issues before the actual pre-trial hearing.
Up next on UBC, brought to you by...
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.